So we're going to start out seated in comfortable position. Go ahead and catch your breath. Get comfortable. And then I stretch my arms up overhead. Bend to the left. Reach that right arm over next to my ear. And I'll look up. Get a nice stretch into the neck. And then we're going to switch sides. Back up, overhead. Do a little back bend. And then we're going to go right over to the other side. Reach that arm next to your ear. Look up underneath your arm. Really get a good side body stretch. I love doing this one. Back to the center. And we're going to place your left hand on your right knee and use your right arm behind you to twist. Make sure you're looking over that right shoulder. I'm going to go back up to center and repeat on the other side. Get a good stretch in the back, and we're going back to center, and we're going to come into a tabletop position. It's knees stacked under hips, arms, hands under shoulders. And we're going to go into a nice cat-cow here, where you push into the palms, round the spine, and then reverse that motion. Head up, shoulders back. Kind of doing like a little rinse here. These are small circles, the hips and the head. And then reverse the opposite direction. And we're going to come into a neutral spine. Extend the right leg, push back into the heel to stretch the calf, and then flex forward to the palms and then back again. You want to make sure you feel it in your wrists and in the calf muscles in the back. And you're just going to make little circles. Opposite direction. And once we finish that, we're going to do it on the other side. So extend the left leg behind you, pressing into the heel to stretch the calf, and then bring the weight forward into the fingers. This is always good to stretch the wrists. And then small circles in first one direction, and then of course reverse and go around in the opposite direction. We're going to return to tabletop, come down into our forearms, into a puppy pose. We'll walk the hands out a little further. And you want to keep your knees stacked underneath your hips and just move your arms forward. This is a good stretch for the low back to really create some space along the spine. I like this one. And we're going to go ahead and revolve the puppy pose. Where you bring your right arm out in front of you. Push back into that right shoulder. This is a good stretch for the upper back and the shoulder area. You can bring that left arm in closer if you want to push a little more. And we're going to come right back out of it and switch to the other side. And we're going to bring the left arm in front of you. And then that right arm can go straight out. You want to bring that weight into the left shoulder. If you want a little more of a stretch, you can look up underneath the armpit. We're going to come right back up into our tabletop again. And we're going to go into low lunge, high lunge. High lunge is always tough for me. My balance isn't all the way there yet, especially on the right leg. We're going to come into a nice back bend. Doesn't have to be anything major. We're going to straighten back up. And we're going to bring the right arm back, left arm forward. We should be looking back at that right thumb. My balance isn't that great, so I did not do that. And then we're going to bring the left palm to the floor. Bring the right arm overhead. You want your thumb over your face. You want to look up at your thumb. You can go into a half bind here. Bringing the right arm to the left hip. Make sure you're pushing through that left heel and really using the thighs, spreading your weight between your legs so you're not just putting your weight all on your arms. And we're going to come back into a downward facing dog. Pedal out the legs, do whatever feels good. Get comfortable in the pose. And we're going to roll our body forward into a plank. And we're going to bring the left leg forward so we can go into our low lunge and then a high lunge. And the tip here again is to make sure you are pushing back through the right heel and using your right thigh to push up. Again, another back bend. This could even just be lifting your chin. Doesn't have to be serious, just get a little more space in the spine. And we're going to bring right arm forward, left arm back. And again, if you have the balance, go ahead and look back at that left hand. Find your left thumb. If not, bring the right palm to the floor, left arm over your head. Half bind, left arm to right hip. Again, make sure you're distributing your weight evenly amongst both legs and your arms so that you're not putting all your weight into your wrist. And we're going to bring the arm forward, down, and then we're going to step back into our down dog again. It's important to remember to push into the thumb and forefinger of both hands. And we're going to roll back forward into plank and then our cobra or up dog. And we're going to do another cobra and then back down. One more for good luck. And of course, if you feel it in your lower back, then you might need to readjust and not go as deeply into the pose. And we're going to look over each shoulder, really twist out that spine, and we're lowering back down. And go ahead and rinse out the lower back. Give a little twist of the legs. I always do this after back bends because I always feel like I'm compressing a little too much in my lower spine. We're going to come back up into child's pose. Going to bring the big toes together, push the weight back. And you want to sit on your heels, stretch the arms out in front of you. another good one for stretching out the back after back bend. Now we're going to walk the hands over to the left. You can place your right hand on top of your left hand or put them side by side. Walk over as far as you can without lifting your hips from your feet. This is meant to stretch out the side body, so don't go any deeper than you really need to on this. And really focus on keeping the hips, especially that right hip, pressed down. And we're going to walk back to the center and then over to the right. Same thing, make sure you're focusing and pressing down that left hip and stretching your arms out as much as you can. Of course, while you're doing that, you're reaching your hands forward. You want to try to pull your shoulders back and down. Create a little space between your ears and your shoulders here. We're going to walk back to center. Come right back up. And we're going to go into a hair pose. Balance on the top of your head, sort of lifting the hips, holding onto your heels. This always feels really good in that upper back, in between the shoulder blades. It's a hard place to stretch. I found that this is one of the best ways to do it. I really like hair pose, or rabbit pose. I'm gonna do some low cat-cows here. And you're sitting on your heels, pressing your arms out in front of you. Now we're going to shift over into Sphinx pose. I'm going to look over the left shoulder, reach that left arm back, grab the left foot, and stretch into it. You want to try to keep your knees side by side, so don't flare out the knee. This is going to be really good for the front of the thigh and also opening up the shoulders and the chest. Again, we're going to do some side to sides with the hips just to create some space in the spine before we switch to the other side. So now we're going to reach back with our right hand, grab the right foot, and again, make sure that we are keeping our knees close together so we can really feel the stretch along the front of the thigh. Love doing this stretch. I love doing this one standing up too. Okay, and we're just gonna lie down. We're gonna swish the back. Swish, swish. And we're gonna come up into half frog. So you want to bring the knee out at a 90-degree angle from your hip, and you also want to make sure that you are flexing the foot, creating some retention in that leg as well. So you want 90-degree angle, and we're just gonna rest here. It's always good to do a hip opener. I try to do one in every flow that I go through just because I have really tight hips and I'm trying to work that out. So this is always good. I'm gonna come right back up, switch to the other side, same thing. Nice 90-degree angle, flex the foot. If it's too intense, of course, walk out of it. You can put blocks underneath your body if that helps. I just like to hang out like this. Now, here I am setting up 2 blocks. I'm gonna grab a pillow. And I'm going to set myself up to do a full frog pose. Supported with the blocks and the pillow. You can use a bolster if you have a bolster, or just do what I'm doing here with the pillow. It works just fine. Again, really working on the tightness in my hips, so this is always nice. It's also just really easy to fall asleep in this position. You can stay in this pose as long as you need to. You can also grab a blanket if you're going to be there for a while. It's pretty warm, so I didn't need a blanket, but some people like blankets. Makes it cozy. And reluctantly come on out of that pose into a nice little yogi squat. Reach the arms forward. Oh yeah. You can also come into this yogi squat sitting on a block if this is too intense, but here I am finally sitting up straight. It's a process. And we're going to place the left hand on the floor, lift the right arm to the right corner of the room, look up, back to center, and then repeat that on the opposite side. Right arm down, left arm up. Go ahead and look into the corner. Back to center. Now we're going to use that same setup and do a little bit of a fish pose / butterfly hybrid. This is really good for a heart opener. You don't have to do the butterfly legs. You can place your legs out straight in front of you. For me, that was a little too intense. And again, I like hip openers, so double duty. This is another nice restorative pose to hang out in. You want to get on your mat and you don't feel like actually doing anything too intense. This is always good. And again, this is another prime opportunity for a blanket. If you have a blanket, throw that bad boy over yourself. Really get into it. I'm stretching my arms up overhead. Again, that intensifies the stretch, so if that's too much, don't do it. I'm pretty sure I could fall asleep in this position. So nice. It's like a nice subtle stretch to the back. It's not overly intense. But of course, what always happens is my mind wanders a little too much. And I'm like in these restorative poses. Alright, we're going to start bringing some small movements in here. If you were in the butterfly, you can go ahead and bring your thighs together with your hands. You can just kind of roll yourself off of the structure. I clearly wanted to go to sleep after this. Go ahead and take a moment to come back to yourself and then find a nice, comfy seated position. We're going to bring those arms up overhead. Call in all the energy. Thank myself for the practice. Thank the universe for the good vibes that let me fall into that relaxation. Pray for that peace to permeate every inch of my life. There I am, really asking for it. Namaste. That was it.